Hey everybody, it's your old pal Jamesy Wamesy, and I hope you're all doing well today. Once again, I decided to continue making these video recordings. I haven't been doing them in a long time, really, and I'm doing two in a row. I'm still wearing the shirt I wore yesterday, but check it out. I think you guys might like the shirt. See, it's Bill the Butcher. It's like a basketball jersey. It's pretty freaking cool. I've had this for like 15 freaking years, really long time. I just love it really, really much. Obviously, it's got like the netting inside, like you would have in a basketball jersey, but it's actually all torn to shit. But it's a really cool shirt. I love this. And there was, I believe, another shirt of the exact same type for City of God. I think it was in orange. You guys might remember that movie. I think it was a Brazilian movie about drug dealers. It was pretty crazy. I just think the shirt's just so ridiculous in the portrayal of violent movie characters that I just had to have it. Well, anyways, today I have some more recommendations, and I've got a few of my friends' books, and I've actually got my books, which I'll show off. Why not? Okay, now if you're all ready, let's get to it. I'm gonna start with people I know. Now check this out. This is Comic Verse. There you go. This is by Steve Peters and BIANCA ALU-MARR. Now, these comics are basically a story of a space podcast. Now, here's the interior. Now, this is a local Pennsylvania artist, a good friend of mine, good guy. I've actually never met him. I've only met him online, but we've known each other at least about 20 years. But I highly recommend buying Comic Verse. There's a one volume. Here's another volume. I believe I'm actually in this one. I've actually gotten quite a bit of work from this guy over the years. And let's see. I think that's all of his that I have at hand right now. Yeah, but I've got another friend of mine. This is Morgan Heron. Now he's a young fella. He's probably about 20, I think. But I really dig his style. I think he's really going places, and I think he's like the future of our independent scene. And he works in full color. That was something I wasn't brave enough to do when I first started out, and I think it's a really bold choice. Judge for yourself, though. I think he's got like a Magnolia thing, but he's got his own thing going on. You can tell the difference between when you see a Morgan Heron piece or when you see a Magnolia piece. Obviously, you know the difference between a Matt Smith and a Magnolia. You're definitely gonna know the difference between Morgan and a Magnolia. All right, let's see. Oh, last I've got one of my favorites. This is actually Riley the Teenage Bigfoot. Now, this is an awesome series. I highly recommend this series. I've got all the books. I've got multiple copies of all the books, and it's by my friend Jeffrey Manley. Now, Jeffrey he's got like probably like 30 books. The guy is a freaking like really talented dude. Now, here's the interior. Let me show you that. Give you a little taste for that. Now, I've got several of those at hand. I've got volume three here as well. Like I said, these are just what was at hand, not what I totally have in my collection. But I highly recommend this series. He is one of the funniest dudes, just naturally funny. If you like stoner humor, this guy's up your alley. You can find his work on Amazon. So if you go that route, I'm sure you can like find other sources if you're not into those kind of folk. I really don't care. I just think the world is pretty much doomed, and I'll contribute to that by supporting Amazon. Yeah, here's another one. Now, once again, these are all in black and white. Here's another sampling. Hopefully, my hand's not covering too much of the punchlines. But each page is pretty much its own joke. There is some continuity, and I believe this was his next project. Now, this was about the mullet ghost. This is more of a kid-oriented book, and I don't know how well it hit. Like I thought it was funny, but I don't know how it was received by the public, because his next book, which I don't have at hand, was actually a book with Riley as a grown-up in a room full of new characters that are all roommates. It's kind of like the young ones, but a little bit crazier. Like if you know Riley, he's like a big pothead, like a crazy loser. And he's sexually attracted to a tree of all things. It's just top notch stuff. It's great stuff. And speaking of top notch stuff, have you ever seen this book here? This is Mobius. This is I believe something in the 40 Days on Desert B. Now this is one of his last books. This was about 2000 or so. So I think he was alive in 2008, 2009. But this was like one of his last like huge hits, at least in my mind. This was basically a book he drew about quitting marijuana, quitting and being dependent on marijuana to do his art. And I think he did beautiful artwork. Like this is all just beautiful line work. It's all in French, unfortunately, so it's really hard to actually follow along what's going on. But there you go. There's some movies. Everyone likes movies, right? But the whole book is in this format here with a long ways layout. I guess you'd call that like a letterbox, I guess. Now, this is a little closer to the age he passed away. This is, let's see, Lazard's Reviewers. Now, this is also a French book, but as you can see, I'm kind of dedicated to Moebius, as you may have picked up on yesterday in yesterday's video. But this is more of a sketchbook. It's kind of a cross between the 40 Days book and the Laszlo Parker thing, I think. It's really like one thing that I've heard was that these are not the best scans that they could have had, but I think they're pretty clear. Like you really get an idea for his imagination from these books. Let's keep looking at this one. You see that like that reminds me more of Laszlo Parker with the abstractness there. Now every page like has a blank background, like on the facing pages. I believe that's so you don't see through the paper so much, which I think is a pretty awesome idea. That's also why some of those Dark Horse volumes are a little bit thinner than the ones you actually get from France, but you get an idea of what they have there. All right, now I'm gonna put those aside. And lastly, I'm a big fan of this one. I really like the concept. This is Long Shot Comics. It's basically little dots. Let me pull it over here. Where it's supposed to be that if you magnified them, you would see them in full detail. But it's obviously just a gag. But this is by Shane Simmons. Now let me show you the interior. This is very different than what you're going to get from most books. You see like every page is just a tiny panel and with the dots. Ooh, sorry for the nudity on this page. But yeah, these are really well written. There's 3 volumes of these on Amazon once again. You get a look there. When you look up Long Shot, you might come up with the Marvel series. But just ignore that. This is the one to beat. I love Arthur Adams, but yeah, this is just fantastic stuff. It really reads like a novel. You really get into their world. There was a slave labor series where they were published at regular comic size, and like each page had like about 100 panels on it. They've been reduced and reformatted for this new book. It's fairly new. It's probably like about 5 years ago that it was published or so. But I definitely recommend it. Okay, now let's get to me and how wonderful I am. But that obviously I'm being silly. But here you go. This is actually a cover by Sam J. Royale. Here you go. he, I think, was one of the first things I really wanted for the new series. I had actually published one issue of Cactus World, but this is Papa Balloon and Cactus, obviously. Now, this one's not open, but my art is far inferior to Sam J's at this point. I think I've caught up a little bit. I wouldn't say I've surpassed him, but I think I could give him a good showing. Now that was the first issue. I had paid him handsomely for the first cover, and I followed that up with the second cover. This is actually a color special. This is not the actual second issue per se, but as you can see, like Sam just nails the characters. You know, I can't think of somebody better to basically symbolize the characters and just show them off as they really are. Now, my colors back here were really pretty bad, but I just jumped into them. I published issue one. I decided, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself. Here's issue, the second one. It's going to be a special, and I'm going to get it out by Christmas. And I think it came out in early January. Whoops. Okay. Speaking of mistakes, this is my first cover. Here you go. Oh, having trouble. Got that whole one arm thing going on here. Now, since this one's open, you can actually see some of the interiors. So, this is what the early issues look like. Black and white, the very shrunken in, which I kind of stuck with that format for quite a while. Now, the cover is actually inspired by Jim Rugg. He's a Pittsburgh artist. He does Street Angel. Here you go. You see, he did a Hulk comic where he had the Gray Hulk and the Green Hulk on the one cover or the other. Well, I kind of tried to make it like that, but I kind of screwed that up there. As you can see, there's a lot of white gaps there. And instead, they should just join together. But live and learn. It's a learning process. Now, after that, I hired my old friend. This was Richard Friend. Here, I'm going to hold it sideways so you can get a fuller view of it. He is a master of detail. He has worked on like Wonder Woman, and he's inked David Finch's Batman stuff. He's just amazing. So I got him to do a couple covers. Whoop. Here's another one he did. This is actually the one I just showed you was issue 4. This is actually issue 3. Sometimes it's hard for me to tell them apart because I did go with a black and white for his issues because I just think he's just top notch and his work just pops like in black and white. Well, there we go. Now, speaking of others, this is actually a copy of issue 2. This is a variant cover. This is actually the only copy of this comic I have. This is drawn by Dave Sim. Like he was doing like a Neil Adams impersonation. And it was pretty cool. I did not expect that. I donated some money to support his Alex Raymond project. Excuse me. And he just surprised me like I was like I don't need any sort of prizes, like they were offering prizes for donations. I just wanted to support the artwork, and that's what I'm all about. That's why I always do backup features in every issue. In fact, speaking of the backup features, this one actually has Amelia Trimpey, and she basically writes about growing up in like the shadow of Herb Trimpe and Linda Fight. Like she is not a comic book person at all. It's like it's very passive and everything, but she receives gifts from like people like Flo Steinberg. She spent her Halloweens going to Bernie Wrightson's house and having like Halloween parties with Bernie and his wife. And Barry Windsor Smith is actually her sister Sarah's godfather. I mean, that's pretty involved. That's a perspective you don't really see with most articles you're going to read about Herb Trimpe and of course Linda Fight. Although Linda, I gotta admit, it's actually harder to find articles on her. I have seen a couple on the cat, which is really interesting stuff, and that actually ties into Marie Severin. I run a Marie Severin group on Facebook. You can find us at the official Marie Severin Facebook group on the Facebook. I actually run it. It was actually founded by Linda Fight, who really runs it. You know, I'm kind of in her shadow now. So I'm basically just helping, gather people. You know, we got about 1,000 members, maybe 1,100 right now, I believe. But yeah, check that out. There's a little tie-in with Linda Fight there. All right, then I did a second color special. Here we go. Once again, I'll go in close, like on the sideways. Okay, that was actually a second color special. As you can see, my colors got much better. I did parodies of Superman. I called him Glasses Man. He's basically Superman if he got his powers from taking off his glasses. The only caveat was that he had the powers, but he couldn't see anything. So I just thought that was a nice twist. Then I had Wonder Woman. Let me point her out there. And she was wonderful. And the Batman parody character was just called Batman. He's just basically a Batman, but wearing Wolverine's like mask shape. You know, I didn't really develop that character so much, but it's a pretty fun issue. My colors got much better, and I decided to switch after that to basically doing the issues in color from then on. So no more specials, just going straight ahead and doing the regular series. All right, one problem I have here is I'm on issue 5, and issue 5 is sold out for some reason. I think it might have something to do with how many I ordered and how much in demand it was. But yeah, I don't have any of those, but I do have volume 6. Now these are open, but these are open for a reason. These are actually damaged copies, which I'm going to give away here on this video. Well, now here is page 1. As you can see, it's very different than what came before. Let me open another page randomly. Oh, this actually features that same character. He only makes a couple appearances in here, but there you go. Well, shout out to my friend Quinn. She drew the back cover here. This is her version of Papa Balloon. She calls him King Daddy, and she basically does her own thing with him, and it really works really cool. I really think it pops in her style. I'd give her a shout out. Check out her work if you're on Facebook. She's really awesome and really nice person to know. Now, I've got 4 damaged copies here of the book here. Now, if you want a free copy, just say, I want a free copy in the comments. It's first come, first served. Now, the damage isn't that bad, but there's a little wear and tear. They were sitting in my garage, and it was they were in there when there were a lot of cats. We were nursing cats back to health. So, you know, they're a little scratched up, a little dinged up. There's even some, like, leaves I found in the box they came in. So, yeah, if you're interested in a copy, you haven't seen what I've been up to lately, I have no problem. Even if you guys are international, like my Canadian friends. Hey, Mike and Missy, how you doing? Yeah, just say you want a copy, and I'll hook you up. Well, that's about it for today. Hopefully by tomorrow, I'll do a second video, or a third video, rather. And maybe I'll have a new shirt on. Who knows? Maybe I'll take a shower. It's only been like 90 degrees today, so you would think that would be the case. All right, guys. Y'all see you around. Bye-bye.